Warning. This podcast may contain strong languages for mature audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, this is the B13 NerdCast of Randomness, and I'm your host, Brandon Belanger, and this is the podcast we talk about everything and anything. And guys, I'm very excited about this. I'm doing the Q&A deal, okay? And yes, I did ask on my personal Facebook page of everyone, ask me a certain question, and it's crazy of how many questions I end up getting. I believe, about 40 questions, and some of them are multiple questions from some of the same people. But I want to say thank you guys for taking the time out of your day to actually, text me these questions in the comment box. It really means a lot to me, and there was a lot of great questions. Really intelligent questions, and a lot of funny, hilarious questions. So I don't think I'm going to get to all of them, so this is Q&A Part 1, just letting you guys know, and then eventually there'll be Q&A Part 2 for the next one. So again, I want to say thank you guys so much for the questions. So let's get on with it, and this is going to be one hell of a time. So the first question I got was from Gina Pals. Shout out to Gina. Know you from karaoke. Love you, girl. So the first question was, what inspired you to start a podcast? Okay, well, that's a good question. So originally I did do a wrestling talk podcast back in 2018. And it wasn't really getting the recognition that I really wanted it to. Meaning like it was only getting like 100 views every single time I was, broadcasting it, I guess you could say. And another thing, too, is I was just a wrestling fan and didn't really know anything about the business. Yeah, I know the history. I knew, who won this belt. But I didn't know what wrestling was really all about until I did train at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. And at that point, I stopped doing the Wrestling Talk podcast because I just thought everything I talked about was embarrassing. So, and everything I did was 100% wrong. I didn't even have a Facebook page for it. I just downloaded it anytime I wanted to. The editing was so bad, and I was ashamed of it. So, I've always been into podcasting. Never really told anybody, except for like a few people here or there. The podcasts I usually listen to are wrestling podcasts. There's other ones of interviews with people on podcasts, like celebrities that I'll listen to, but I just love listening to podcasts. So when I'm listening to them, I'm listening to the stories and all this type of stuff, and I started realizing maybe I should promote the podcast and try to promote it a little bit more, try to be more professional. And yes, I do swear a lot, say fuck all the time. Who gives a shit, right? Viewer discretion is advised when you watch this podcast. But I wanted to be more professional with it, and I figured this was my second chance of giving it a shot. And the fact in the first 4 months that I got 100 plus followers on Facebook, which I get it, it's not that big, but starting off within the first 4 months, it's a big deal to me. And I'm like, holy shit, that was my goal by the end of the year. And I'm getting 100 followers now. It's insane to me. So again, thank you for the people that do watch this podcast, take the time out of their day to watch it and following it. And it really means a lot. So that's the reason why I started podcasting. I just love it, and I just love to talk, as you can tell. Even if I'm terrible at talking and don't get straight to the point, I just love to talk, and I love listening to podcasts. So why the fuck not, right? From Daniel Mossy, who was on the show. I think he was on episode 8 when we were talking about the SpongeBob SquarePants nerd suggestions. So shout out to you, Daniel. The question he asked me is, if there is one thing you want most of all of anything in the entire universe and you were given it, what would that be? Ooh, if there's one thing on this earth that I would want. That is a tough question. When people ask me that question, there's like a lot of things I want. You want to be rich. You want to have money. You want to have the power. Not really me, to be completely honest. Like, yeah, money is great, and I get it. You need money to survive. But personally, for me, what I want is just to have a normal life, and everyone just getting along. Because I know in the past several years, we've been having a lot of issues going on, and I'm not really a political person, and I'm not going to get into it. But I just wish everyone could just shut up and get along, and I guess you could say world peace. Question from Zach Winston. And Zach, I used to train a little bit. He did train a little bit at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. Great guy, very nice guy. Had him over at my house once to, have like a little get-together for some of the newer students at the time. Very cool cat. Love you, dude. Hope to see you again soon. His question was, what is the greatest horror movie? If we're going back, the greatest horror movie, personally to me, even if it's not my favorite, I would have to say The Exorcist. And that is a movie I've only seen, honestly, in a total of 5 times. The reason being is because it scared the shit out of me. It really did. I love horror movies, but that was the one movie that just seemed legit. And for a movie that was made back in the 70s, I believe, or the 80s, it just seems so real, and it just scared the living daylights out of me. And that's the reason why I watched it 5 times. But in my mind, I think that was a pulp cultural movie. Yeah, there's Friday the 13th. Yeah, there's Child's Play. Yeah, there's Nightmare on Elm Street. And yeah, I'm a Saw guy. Don't get me wrong. I love Saw. That is my number 1 favorite movie. But if we're talking about the greatest horror movie of all time, personally for me, it's going to be The Exorcist, because a little girl playing that character and being possessed, it was insane. So I would have to say The Exorcist, to me, was a very fucked up movie. Eric Del Viller. The question is, what critical moments in the Walking Dead comics that you didn't like, and what would you change about the specific scenes or panel? I'll be honest, the thing is, I don't like the show. I never did. I watched the first 3 seasons, and then after that I stopped watching it because it just wasn't good, personally, for me. And I hate to be judgmental, and everyone has their point of views on shows and movies, which is nothing wrong with that. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But the comic books was the main focus for me. That was the first actual comic book I actually started reading about 10 years ago. I really started getting into reading then, and Walking Dead happened to be there. And personally, I loved everything about the comic books. I don't think there's really one thing I hated about it. The only thing I can say I wish didn't happen was Rick dying. The fact that he made it, and I read by volumes, which is graphic novels. I don't read individual issues. So with the graphic novels, there's 33 of them. And this book started back in 2003. And I think it ended in 2019, 2020 into the very last book. And Robert Kirkman, fucking shout out to you, man. You made the best fucking zombie comic book of all time, I think, in my opinion. But the one thing I didn't like was them killing Rick in the end of the series. I think it was like the 31st or 32nd volume he passed away. I didn't like that. I was hoping he would be like the sole survivor. And the thing is, Carl happened to be the sole survivor of the whole entire thing. And on the show, it doesn't make sense because he died like really early, early in the seasons, and I just didn't get that. I was like, why would you kill Carl off if he didn't die? So I gotta say, the Walking Dead TV show fucked up on that. But yeah, Carl is still alive. He is still alive throughout Volume 1 all the way to Volume 33. Which I like, but I wish they didn't kill off Rick. But other than that, I love the comic book. I have no will against the Walking Dead comic books in any way, shape, or form. From my fiance, Kat Dion. All right, let's see. She wrote a bunch of them, but I'm only going to read one because, again, there's so many questions, and I can't get to all of them. That's why we're going to do a part 2-er. But let's get to this one, shall we? Kat Dion, my fiance. Love you, baby. Shout out to you. Question is, if you could give your 18th-year-old self some advice, what would you say to him? When I read that question, it was like, I don't know how to answer that, but long story short, um, 18 years old, March of 2011, I found out I was adopted, and this is a true story. So I found out I was adopted at age 18. It was very hard for me at that time, and it took me 8 years to really try to develop that I was adopted and just accept it. I was going through major depression and anxiety, and I can say, quote unquote, I guess you can say I had somewhat of a drinking problem. And I'm an open book. I have no problem admitting this. Um, yeah, I had a bit of a drinking problem. I was very depressed all the time. I wanted to commit suicide, and it was hard times when I found out I was adopted. And I had major anger problems. I was breaking things, and I hurt certain people that you know, wish I didn't hurt them the way I did, and physically and mentally. And I just the advice I would tell my 18-year-old self personally is, even though you're going through something so bad and you're going through something so tough, keep going forward as best as you can and trying to find something that will make you feel better. And unfortunately, the things that I chose was alcohol and doing a little bit of drugs, Smoking pot, yeah, I mean, everyone fucking smokes pot, right? But the way I was smoking was to just keep my depression to a fucking minimum. And it wasn't just pot I was doing, I was popping pills for a little bit of time. And that's something I really don't admit to most people, but I'm admitting it on here. I used to be into pills, never really told anybody until now. And I had much of a drinking issue, because when I found out I was adopted, it was really hard for me at the time. And eventually, when the time comes, I will tell you the complete story and how the adoption thing went about. But I would tell my 18-year-old self, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's going to be hard to get over, and maybe you'll never get over it. But you can conquer this, and you will be okay. My 18-year-old self didn't think that way. So eventually it took me 8 years, and for the past 4 years now, I've been going to therapy and trying to get help. The last 3 years now, I've been getting my life straightened, and my mind's all the way there now. I'm doing much better, physically and mentally, and I'm just loving life now. And I just wish I had that when I was 18 all the way to, 25. But it didn't happen. But I would tell myself, my 18-year-old self, you'll be okay. Keep moving forward. You'll get through it. And I tell that to anybody that has that kind of an issue. Gabrielle Athena. I know who this is. Gabriella, shout out to you. The question she asked was, why don't I see you at Chaotic anymore? Okay. So, Chaotic Wrestling is what she means. I actually do not train at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy anymore. I do not train professionally anymore. Back in July of 2021, I was getting myself back into shape because I took some time off because I just had to work on being an adult for a little bit. So I came back and I was doing great. I was in top-notch physical shape. I was doing awesome. And July of 2021, and accidents happen. It's wrestling. It's not ballet. And I actually got knocked out and got a mild concussion. And my doctors told me I had to take exactly 3 weeks off from work because I have a physical labor job at the JOB. And also, I'm got to take 3 weeks off from wrestling because it's a physical, sport. So I didn't do that. I only took 3 days off from work, and I only took a week off from wrestling. And my head just kept killing me and killing me and killing me and killing me. And I remember I got a little bit of a black eye, nothing major, just a little black eye, knocked heads with one of the students or now wrestlers. And the last day I was there, I took a clothesline out of the ring. My ankle didn't break, it didn't sprain or anything. It just got twisted up a little bit. And right then and there, I just said, I'm done. I can't do this no more. It's not that I can't handle it. It's not that I'm afraid of getting hurt. I just can't risk getting hurt, because I have a fiance to worry about. I have a job to worry about. And, I got to focus on the things that do matter. And I'm not saying wrestling doesn't matter. It does. But I have to think about my health first before everything else. So it's anything bad, shit happens. I took an elbow, got knocked out for the first time, got a mild concussion, and that's one of the reasons why. Also, just like I said, the other reason was just because I miss seeing my fiance, and I haven't really spent much time with her. And she knows I'm a workaholic, and I like to work a lot. And I'm still doing it with the podcast and everything, but I'm at home. I'm in my basement right now. I guess you could say in the NerdCast studios. That's where I'm doing it, but it's downstairs. That's where I'm doing it. And she's upstairs, probably like, oh, great, he's talking to himself again. But no, I'm doing this fucking podcast. But yeah, no, it was just because of the injury, and it was no one's fault. It happens, and also just miss seeing my fiance and seeing friends, and I'm a homeboy. I like being at home. Telling you guys, still train at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. It's still one of the best schools in America today. It's one of the 5 top schools in the country. Check it out. And make sure to check out those chaotic wrestling shows, man. They're doing a lot of great things. I see a lot of guys getting pushed, like Brad Cashew. He's kicking ass. He always does. I mean, he's just naturally fucking gifted at what he does. I'm happy to see Ricky Smokes kicking ass. Shout out to Ricky, and very young cat that's been killing it. And Mortar. Those 3 guys just had a big match at Cold Fury 20, I think it was, and they had an amazing triple threat match for the New England title, and can't wait to see that one. And I still haven't seen it, but I will see it, and I'm very proud of those guys and everybody that trains at that school. Just keep working hard, and your dreams will come true. Renee Marie. Shout out to Renee. We work at the JOB together. All right, so the question she has is most awkward / embarrassing / funny to look back on date you've been on. Oh God. So I'm not gonna throw Kat under the bus. So I'm not gonna mention those dates because I don't want to embarrass her. She's my girl. I don't want to embarrass her, which I already did on the second episode when she was on here, and I had to mention about her getting drunk and stuff. But I will tell you a funny story. I think it was funny personally. It might have been scary to some people, but it was funny to me. So back in 2012, I think it was on a Friday, I was working at Spencer's Gifts at the time. And if you know what Spencer's is, you know what Spencer's is. So I was working at Spencer's, and the day before, the day I was working, this girl comes up to me and gives me her phone number, and I was like, oh, cool. And my stupid ass was like, oh, who's this from? And then she pointed at herself, and I was like, oh, okay. Stupid question, right? So I get home and I texted her, and she was like, hey, do you want to hang out tonight? I just met this girl like 4 hours ago, okay? And I just got home. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm going to a Linkin Park concert tomorrow night. I don't know if I can make it, but maybe we can hang out sometime. She's like, come on, hang out with me, hang out with the girls and all that. And at the time, for me, I was like, hanging out with a bunch of girls? Hell yeah, that's fucking awesome. I'm going to be fucking, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't have a car, didn't have a license. I ended up going to this club with them that was in Nashua, and I was like, sure, I'll go. So I get picked up, and there's a bunch of girls in the car, and I was like thinking, oh, this is going to be a great night. I'm going to be with a bunch of girls. We turn off the street. And I didn't want to drink or anything. I just wanted to have a wholesome good time, just, do my thing and then get out of there. So we turn off my street. This girl pulls out a big bottle of vodka, and they're passing the bottle around while they're driving, and I didn't take a sip once. Shockingly, once I did not take a drink during that time. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm going to fucking die tonight. Like, this is going to suck. And it was just so bad. It went from holy shit to holy shit, So we get to this club, and already the first 2 minutes I'm in there's already like a fight going on between 2 dudes, and this girl's like pulling me in like we just like been on dates forever, and she's like, come with me. And I was like, I just met you like 7 hours ago, and you're already acting like we're fucking together, So I danced with her. It was weird, I'm not gonna lie, and she made out with me, and she couldn't kiss. I'm sorry, and I don't even remember the girl's name, so I can't fucking embarrass her. But yeah, it was just so awkward. And then she tried talking, and just everything she was saying, I can't remember what she was saying because I just was not interested after that. So I was like, yeah, I'll be right back. And I called my buddy Dan. Shout out to Dan Rizzo. I think it was him that helped me. So shout out to Dan. I call up my buddy Dan and I was like, Dan, I need you to pick me up. I'm about to die. Like, please pick me up. And he picked me up and he asked me what happened. And I told him what happened and he started laughing. So I guess you can say that was the most embarrassing, awkward date I've ever been on. It was just so fucking weird. And hopefully I'll never go through that experience again. And I will not, because I'm engaged. But I hope nobody goes to that experience like I went through. Like, it was just awkward. It was just like, I didn't want to be there. I wanted to go. If I said your name 4 times, I'm sorry. I just don't know how to pronounce it. But shout out to Brian, okay? And the question is, what wrestler or match inspired you to start training as a pro wrestler? Who/what do you watch, follow now? Okay. So I was never a wrestler, and I would just want to clarify it. That there's a difference between a wrestling student and a professional wrestler, okay? A professional wrestling student is a guy who's still training, trying to figure out everything to become a wrestler, like the fundamentals, the psychology, terminology, all that type of stuff, and you're still trying to learn the business. A professional wrestler is a guy who's actually getting booked on shows, okay? So I was never a wrestler, and I just want to clarify that. So I was never a wrestler. I was a pro wrestling student. That's what I declare myself as. I never had a wrestling match in front of a live audience. The only thing I had close to a live audience was 2 times and 2 battle royals that was in, and those aren't even real matches. But they are great opportunities. They were amazing opportunities. And I want to say shout out to former WWE superstar Anthony Green, who let me be in those battle royals. I do appreciate it. Thank you. There wasn't a specific match. There never was. I just was a huge fan of wrestling, and if you really knew me, yes, I have the WWE Network / Peacock, whatever you want to call it nowadays, but I collect and still have 250 wrestling DVDs. I have 6 wrestling belts. I have some action figures, autographs, all the whole spiel. And just wrestling to me at that time, because I had a weird upbringing growing up, so that was like my way to get away from everything, just watching pro wrestling. And it was a lot of Raws and SmackDown at that time. So particularly if there was a match in general that made me want to do it, I started watching wrestling in 2002. When I went to WrestleMania 33 in 2017 and I saw the Hardy Boys return, that moment, that made me want to train. Because 1, it's my favorite tag team of all time, and 2, I got to witness history in front of like thousands of people, like 50,000 plus people, witnessing history that the Hardy Boys have returned. And on the grandest stage of them all, WrestleMania, and they won the tag team titles in a ladder match, a match of their caliber. That made me want to do it, was that moment. And I still get goosebumps just talking about it and thinking about it, even if I don't watch wrestling anymore, Just that moment was amazing, and you can't take that away from me. You can't take it away from anybody that was there that night. It was just a great moment. The pop was just so loud, and I was like, man, I want to try this. And I finally did, but it's really hard. I will tell you this, wrestling is not easy. It's one of the hardest sports you could ever do, and I do consider it a sport, even though it's entertainment. It's a very hard sport to do. Taking the bumps, they hurt. Running the ropes, it hurts. Remembering everything, and just it hurts. I will be honest. There's nothing easy about it. When I first went there, I'll be honest, I thought, oh, I'll get this. No, I was not physically and mentally prepared. It's a physical game, and it's also a mental game. Like, it could fuck with your head. Wrestling can. Pro wrestling can fuck with your head, because they want to know if you can physically do it and mentally do it. And I'll be honest, there are days, a lot of days, that I felt like I just couldn't do it. But then when I had a good day, I was like, I feel great, and I feel like energized. And then you have your bad days, and you're just mentally fried, and physically, and you're just like, I can't do this. And I'm sure that's with a lot of wrestlers around the world that are trying to do it. It's a very hard sport. It really is. Physically, mentally, it's exhausting. Honest, I haven't watched wrestling in a long time. I haven't even followed the storylines or anything. Like, I know, I heard about Roman Reigns, and I heard all these other cats. Like, I read because everything pops up on my Facebook, but I haven't watched wrestling since Royal Rumble of 2021. I'll be honest, I haven't watched wrestling since then. And if I do, I watch mostly older stuff and watch old matches. That's what I do. but I haven't really caught up with it. So if that answers the question, there you go. Sea-Dog, Casey. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, and I do apologize, but I'm going to call you Sea-Dog. Casey, I know you from the JOB as well. Love you, Casey. Thank you for the question, man. So he asked me, if you could pick any era, of course, there's going to be some wrestling questions to this, but Casey, seriously, thank you for the question. If you could pick any era of wrestling to be an active wrestler in your prime, which era would it be, and who would you be your ideal rival in that era? Oh my god. That's a loaded question, man. Because I guarantee people that train at the wrestling school or even professional wrestlers are going to watch this and they're going to look at me like, wow, fuck this guy, you know? But I'm answering the question. They give me the questions. I got to answer them, you know what I mean? And I got to answer them truthfully. So here's the answer. The era that I grew up watching was the Ruthless Aggression. And yes, I did keep up with the 80s, the 90s, and I did catch up with the Attitude Era, which was the golden era pretty much of wrestling, was the Attitude Era. That was like Jerry Springer shit right there, and everyone knew that. It was like one of the best, it was one of the funnest times in wrestling to be a wrestling fan, was the Attitude Era. But for me, I loved the Ruthless Aggression era, which was from 2002 through 2008, I believe it was. You can't beat the talent that was there at the time, guys. There was a lot of great talent, okay? And my type of style, and I used to be that type of guy when I was just a fan. I used to love the high-flying moves and the spot monkeys, whatever. I used to be. Then when you actually start to train as a wrestler, you appreciate the other kind of wrestling, the storytelling, the spots of the match, the athleticism and all that type of stuff, and the timing of the matches and what these guys are telling in the ring. So for me personally, I gotta say, my favorite style of wrestling would be technical wrestling. So I'm talking about like the Kurt Angles, the Chris Benoits, the Eddie Guerreros, the Dean Malenkos, you know, the Chris Jerichos. Edge even had some great matches at the time during that era. I love the technical wrestling. And when I was training personally, my favorite kind of wrestling that I was doing with everybody was literally the chain wrestling, which is pretty much like all grapples. I love that shit. I fucking breathe for that shit. And if I was still doing it, I would love to keep practicing. That's what I have to say. Technical wrestling, and the guy I would have a rivalry with, I would probably get my ass kicked, but I would love to wrestle Kurt Angle, baby. He was just, this is a guy who, and I caught up with all of his podcasts. You got to listen to it, the Kurt Angle Show. I think he's up to like 55 episodes, I believe, 60 episodes. I can't remember, but I've never missed a single episode, and his storytellings is amazing. And the fact that this guy went from being a legit Greco-Roman wrestler to an Olympian, okay, and doing professional wrestling, and even saying that professional wrestling is harder than like legit wrestling, that's saying something. And he never gave up, and he kept doing it. But I feel like personally for me, I would love to have a rivalry with Kurt Angle just because he was one of the best, or Eddie Guerrero. I loved Eddie Guerrero's stuff. I loved his gimmick. I loved his style of wrestling, and both those wrestlers, and don't get me wrong, there's a top 7 and everyone knows who my top 7 are, but those two guys I would love to have a wrestling match with because they were just so fluid in the ring and they just made it look so easy, and I would love to chain with those guys. It would be a fucking honor to wrestle those guys. Hell yeah. Renee Bolia, who used to work at the JOB. Love you, Renee. You're my girl. Not that way. Again, I'm engaged. Just letting you know. Everyone knows. I let everyone know every time. They probably get annoyed by it. But I don't care, because I'm a loyal guy. Anyways, Renee, she wrote, she actually commented a lot of questions. There was one that was not a legit question that I will read. She says, I see you're drinking 1%. Is that because you think you're fat? Quote from Napoleon Dynamite. Love it. Love it very much. No, I drink whole. You know why? Because I can. All right. But no, one of the real questions that she did wrote And she wrote multiple questions as well, but I'm only going to get to one. And this is a good one. She has seen me do some karaoke before, and I do love to sing, even though if I can't sing, but you got to be the judge. You got to go see me sing. But she did ask, what is your favorite karaoke song to perform yourself? God. And the thing is, and you can call me lame, I really don't give a shit. It's my life. Let me do what I want to fucking do. I practice in the car of certain songs that I think I can sing, and I try to make sure I am on key when I sing these songs. And if I can't sing it, I don't sing it at karaoke. I'll just sing it in the car. I love performing 1985 from Bowling for Soup. I perform that all the time. That is Kat's favorite song for me to perform for her. She loves it when I sing that song. And I love singing Paper Cut from Linkin Park because, one, I'm a huge Linkin Park fan, and every time I sing it, I always get like either an ovation, like a really good ovation, or people are actually like dancing to it. So I feel like I'm at a concert. So I'm like, yeah, follow my lead. That's the only time I feel cool, I'll be honest. But I gotta say, Paper Cut from Linkin Park and 1985 from Bowling for Soup. Those are my two favorite songs right there to perform in front of people. From Alexander Street. If I pronounced your name right, Alex, I hope I did. I apologize if I didn't. But shout out to Alex, who also works at the JOB. Get it? Got it? Good. Jax Amadeus, you suck. So Alex asked me, what's your favorite conspiracy theory and what is your opinion about it? Also, that's a really tough one. Conspiracy theories? I don't think about conspiracy theories. I mean, if we're talking about like people believing in ghosts and stuff like that, I guess that's a conspiracy theory. My conspiracy theory, I would have to say that ghosts or spirits talking to you. I honestly believe, and you can laugh at me again, don't give a shit, but I believe that shit is fucking real. I'm not gonna lie, that shit is potentially real. There are people that have been on like talk shows or do like little documentaries about spirits and stuff like that. It's been on TV, like The Twilight Zone. We knew about The Twilight Zone or ghost hunters and all that type of shit. But there was one time, and this actually did happen again, I was 20. There's shit happened when I was 20, guys. A lot of shit happened when I was 20. It was fucking crazy time for me, alright? It really was. But I was dating a girl who was fucking nuts at the time, and I won't mention her name because, again, don't want to embarrass her, and I don't want to get sued. But I was dating this fucking crazy woman at one point during 2012, and she believed in that type of shit, and she didn't look like she was into that stuff. She just looked like a type of girl that worked at Journeys, you know, the skater shoe store, and that's it. That's all I thought she was. She was all colorful and rainbows. But no. She had a bunch of spell books at her fucking house, candles, alcohol for the dead. There was actually one time, and again, this is a true fucking story, guys. This is no bullshit. This actually fucking happened. I actually went to a graveyard. I think it was Blood Cemetery in Nashua. And that's a cemetery I don't think you're allowed to be on, but I went there. So if cops, you watch this, arrest me. I apologize. But I did go to Blood Cemetery, and I was scared shitless. And she brings the spell book, trying to talk to the dead and give it a glass of fucking wine. And honestly, guys, I felt like I was possessed that moment because I was talking in a way that I shouldn't be talking. And I guess I was the improviser for the dead. He went into my body and I was talking for him. It scared the shit out of me. I'm not gonna lie, that shit happened to me. Yes, I got tattoos, okay? Scary ones, okay? But this kind of shit scares me. Ghosts, shit, okay? The Exorcist, that's some real shit, okay? That shit can fucking happen. The spirits and all that shit, I can't fuck with that. And she did do the whole Ouija board thing, and I threw that shit in the garbage because I was like, oh shit, this shit's fucking real. And again, you can make fun of me, you can put all the fucking comments you want saying you're a pussy, all that type of shit. I really don't give a fuck. All right, that scared the living daylights out of me. Okay, so that conspiracy theory question that you asked, Alex, I think spirits and the dead and ghosts are fucking real. But I don't think I have anything here because I live in a nice townhouse. So that's all I got to say about that. And we got multiple questions from some of the same people. Like I said, we're going to do a part 2 of the podcast. And yes, I will repeat myself. If you don't like it, go watch a different podcast, which you probably do. Who gives a shit, you know? All right. From Louis Passamore. Louis Passamore, hopefully I'll have you on the show. We did, and I want to say this to you, Louis, and Julio Carasini, okay? So, first and foremost, I did have them on the show. It never aired because there was something going on. There were some technical difficulties with the audio, and there was something going on with it, and I couldn't fix it, and they were supposed to be on the show, and we were supposed to do a tribute podcast to our good friend Tanner Hogue, God bless his soul, who passed away 3 years ago, and eventually we will do an episode on him, and for the respects of him, and we love you, Tanner, we miss you. And again, Louis and Julio, I do apologize for that, but I will get you guys back on the show soon, I promise. So Louis asked me a question. What's your favorite scary movie? Favorite scary movie? I got a top 3. Okay. So my top 3 favorite scary movies would have to be the Saw franchise. Okay. Not Spiral. That movie sucked. Okay. End of story. But the Saw movie franchise, huge fan of that. My other favorite scary movie was the original Scream and the new one that just came out, the 5th one. Those were good. And the second one. So the first, second, and that. And the third one, it would have to be Friday the 13th, Jason Voorhees. I thought that was a great little story. First 4 movies were good. The 6th one was good. The remake was good. Freddy vs. Jason was good. All the other ones were terrible. But if I have to choose, it would be Friday the 13th, Saw, and Scream. Those are my 3 top favorite horror movies or scary movies of all time. Paris May. Paris, love you, girl. And shout out to you, Paris, who also works at the J-O-B. A lot of people from the J-O-B. Thank you, guys. Love you guys. And you're probably thinking, are those the only fans you got? Probably. But hey, they're supporting it, and I love you guys. All right. So Paris did ask me, what's your favorite thing to do in your free time? That is a good question. So on my free time, I do like going out with Kat, hanging out with her. Whether we go to the mall or if we just chill at home, sitting on the couch, watching some Batman or any kind of movies or TV shows. That's what I like to do. I like to chill. I like to relax. And also, I like, on my spare time, I do like hanging out with my friends and hang out with family when I can. And I love to do some karaoke. Like I said, I love to sing. Singing is one of my favorite things to do. I love singing in the car. I love singing in the shower, even when I take a bath. And I love singing in front of people, even if I'm not good at it. I love to do karaoke. I love to chill. And I read comic books when I go on my lunch breaks. I go in my car, chill in there, and I just read a comic book and go back to work and do it all over. So I like to chill. I'm just a chill person. I like to chill, read comic books, do my nerdy things, hang out with my fiance, hang out with friends, hang out with family. Just like any normal human being, I guess. So that's what I like to do on my spare time. Jonathan Lesage, another guy from the J-O-B. Holy shit. There's a lot of people from the J-O-B that left me a lot of questions. And one of his questions was, what is your favorite restaurant you have been to? What did you like about it? And what did you order? Okay. So I've been to so many restaurants over the years. I would have to say, personally for me, even though it's a chain restaurant, if we're going with chain restaurants, personally I like going to the Texas Roadhouse. It's just, you can't get better than that. Their steaks are amazing. I love their mashed potatoes. I love their honey bread with the butter and the cinnamon butter, the corn, the fries, the onion ring, the whole 9 yards, okay? I love Texas Roadhouse. That is one of my favorite restaurants to go to, and if you guys want to get me some gift cards and send them over to my house, I'll give you the address afterwards if you text me, and you can send me some gift cards to the Texas Roadhouse. That'd be great. So that would be my answer. Texas Roadhouse. Definitely the Texas Roadhouse. Okay, next question I got is from Nicholas Dion, which is my fiance's father, my future father-in-law. Love you, Pops. And another thing, too, is we have a great relationship with all seriousness. He's like a father to me. Great guy, very real sweetheart, I will say that, and love him to death. And I know I probably don't tell him this often, but I love you. You're a great guy. Thank you for coming into my life, and thank you for letting me have your permission to marry your daughter. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. And love the nerdiness from you, because this guy has over 10,000 comics, and I'm talking about issues, 10,000 comics. This guy is a complete nerd. Nerd life, baby. Shout out. But Nick asked me a nerdy question, which was really good. Who would win in a fight between Godzilla and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Dragon Zord? Okay. Listen, we already know the answer. I don't want to talk about it because, again, I'm a Power Ranger fan and I'm a Green Ranger fan and I love the Dragon Zord. And you, my friend, are a Godzilla fan, okay? We already know who wins. I don't want to talk about it. So there's your answer, okay? Next question. Love you. Next question I got is from Nathan Thomas. Who did you look up to growing up? That is another good question. And Nathan, shout out. He works at the JOB as well. That's tough because I have a very complicated life when it comes to family stuff. But growing up, you know what? I got a good answer for that. The person who I looked up growing up with was my sister Megan, and still look up to her to this day. She is my best friend. I know I don't see her as much because she has 2 kids to worry about. She's married, and she does live far away in New Hampshire. But she's the one person I look up to. She's the one person I know if I have something going on, I can go to her about anything. And she never judges. She's not the judgy type person. And she has helped me through a lot, and I do love her for it. And you did see her on episode 6 of the podcast, and hopefully you guys will watch that. That was in the archives, and that was a fun episode. But I would have to say I look up to my sister Megan. She's a great person, a great wife, in all seriousness, a great mother. She takes care of those boys, Jameson and Jackson, my nephews, who I treat like my kids as well. She's just overall a great human being, and I love her to death. And shout out to you, Megan. You're my girl. Used to bug her all the fucking time when I was a kid, but that's what happens when you grow up with each other when you're kids. You love your siblings, right? So I would say my sister is the one person I look up to. I mean, come on. Spice Girls, baby. We used to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer together. Okay, Sarah Michelle Gellar, that's my girl, man. Okay? And she got me into Korn back in the day. She did. She listened to a lot of that Korn. And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be a Linkin Park fan, because Linkin Park is my shit. That is my number 1 favorite band. Got it tattooed on the back of my leg. Hybrid Theory. Rest in peace, Chester Bennington. So the last question I got is from my best friend, Zach. Shout out to Zach Warnica, my best friend for 15 years. He was on the very first episode of the podcast. Make sure to check it out in the archives. It was another fun episode. He asked, what's your favorite song to help wake you up? Ooh. Well, I'll be honest. I can't listen to mellow music first thing in the morning. I need mellow music to help me sleep. But if I were to listen to a song to help me wake up in the morning, it would be a Linkin Park song. I will be honest. And the song that would wake me up is probably What I've Done from Linkin Park. That was just a very good jam, and that's a good song to listen to. So I would say What I've Done from Linkin Park. That's the song I would wake up to. Was that one right there? But good question, Zach. Very solid. So, guys, for everyone that asked multiple questions, and I answered your first question, and I know some of you had multiple questions. Sorry if I didn't get to those other questions, but they will be answered on the part 2 of the Q&A of the B13 NerdCast Randomness. So, again, thank you guys so much for the questions. This really meant a lot to me, like I said. thank you very much for doing this. And can't wait for part 2 of the Q&A. But we're going to end it like this. Guys, if you haven't followed the Facebook page yet, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, what the fuck are you guys waiting for? Okay? Go check it out. You can find me on Facebook, which is the B13 NerdCast of Randomness, okay? It's a podcast about everything and anything. I can talk about whatever the fuck I want, okay? And also you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is www.youtube.com/B13 NerdCast of Randomness. And guys, I have some bad news. The Instagram is no longer. I still have it. I can't get back into the account because, unfortunately, I had to get a new phone. And that is the one password I did not save. And my password is usually the same for everything except for Instagram for some odd reason. So I will be making a new Instagram account for the podcast. So stay tuned. I will let you guys know when there will be an Instagram. But make sure to follow me on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel. On that, thank you guys for these questions, and there will be a part 2 to the questions and answers. Thank you very much supporting this. I got my Riddler shirt on, and make sure to check out that new Batman movie. I gave that movie a solid B+. That's why I bought the t-shirt. I wasn't going to buy it until the movie was good. But other than that, thank you very much for the questions, and I think it's time to let the dogs out.